What is up, everybody? Hey, Curious Cryptids, how you doing? How you doing, Donna? All right. All right, all right, all right. Let's see here what we got. I was running way far behind on getting this ready to go, and next thing I knew, I ran out of time, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta get on there. It's time to go. So, yeah. So I'm trying to still kind of get things rolling here. Andrew, what's up, brother? What's up? Let's see here. Mickey, how you doing, bro? How you doing? Adam, what's going on, man? How you doing, brother? Susan, how are you? Happy medium. Whoop. All right. How is everybody doing this afternoon or this morning or whatever your current situation is, where you live in your time zone and all of that? How's everybody doing? I know for me, I am so glad that it is Friday, and because of course for me, Thursday night is actually my Friday, because you know that's the last day of the week for me. Brian, what's up, buddy? How you doing? So Friday is kind of like my Saturday, but I get off of work on Friday morning. So, you know, it's, of course I came home today and I passed out for a couple hours. So, all right. So, what I wanted to do with this is basically kind of go through. I've got a couple of reports here from Florida that I really like. I was gonna maybe get into some of those and then just take this time to take some questions from anybody. Just, it doesn't have to be anything like, you know, just questions that you always, maybe whenever you, maybe whenever you are talking to somebody about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, there's always those questions that we like to hear other people's opinions on, right? So, you know, maybe it's that type of thing. You know, just anything you want to know, something that maybe you've not heard me address or really talk about, so you want to know what I think about it, my opinions on it. If you have any questions, maybe about some reports that you've seen in the past, maybe some popular reports that have circulated on social media, that type of thing, and you want to know what my opinion is on that. Anything, absolutely, whatever type of questions that you might have related to Bigfoot, Sasquatch, cryptids in general. Hey, you know what? I'm not doing this Q&A because I'm an expert on any of this. I'm doing this Q&A because I thought it'd be fun to do. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. If I don't have an opinion, I'll tell you I don't have an opinion. If I do have an opinion, I'll tell you what my opinion is. And then of course, you know, everybody in the chat can kind of chime in as well and, you know, give their opinions on stuff too. So yeah, any opinions or any questions? Upstate South Carolina. Upstate South Carolina. I have never heard of anybody refer to it as upstate South Carolina. So upstate, are you on the east or the west coast? Or not the west coast, but you know what I mean. Eastern side or western side of the state. I've never heard of it referred to as upstate South Carolina. That is interesting. Is that an actual thing where they refer to it as upstate South Carolina, or is that just like, is that just what you're, you know, that'd be like somebody in you know, the Panhandle or something calling it upstate Florida. I just never heard it before, so I'm curious. Um, do, 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 do. Brian, I don't know. Pickens County. Not familiar with Pickens County, but, or I might be. I'm just not. Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yep. Okay. Yep. I got you. Yeah, I am familiar with that area, somewhat. Brian, not that I'm aware of. Not that I've seen. I haven't seen any new reports from around your area lately. Um, but I am working on a video that I want to produce that takes place near your area. And it's going to require some, a little bit of travel, obviously. It's going to require some talking to people, hopefully. And you and I have talked about it before. But the Barden Booger. I want to do a sort of short documentary on the Barden Booger. Barden Booger is a cool story for anybody who's not familiar. Barden, Florida, little old podunk town in the middle of nowhere, Florida, up near Ocala area. Barden Booger was seen in the early 1900s, were some of the first reports that came out. Basically, the Bigfoot creature, you know what I mean? And then in the 1940s, things really started ramping up around that point in time. One of the interesting things about the Barden Booger, hey, brother, I put myself in there, man. I'm podunk too. I mean, even though Polk County's booming, you know what I'm saying? Is that Bounty Hunting Bear? Yeah, Bounty Hunting Bear, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you. Yeah, even though Polk County's booming with development, man, I'm podunk too. So, yeah. So the Barden Booger. One of the interesting things about the Barden Booger is the people in the community said that they saw the booger carrying a lantern. That's kind of how they described it. Now, it's not that they necessarily saw it carrying a lantern, but they saw a light around the booger, around this, yeah, you are, Brian. They saw a light around this. Hey, Tank Therapy, how you doing? They saw a light with this creature when they saw this creature out in the woods. And so at that point in time, you know, back then, they didn't really have any knowledge of orbs and things like that. So they just associated that light with the booger carrying a lantern. So interesting thing, especially when people want to make claims and say that, oh, the lights, you know, the lights that everybody's seeing, that's something new that was never talked about until 5-10 years ago, whatever the case may be. That's not true, because, you know, the Barden Booger is proof of that. And, you know, obviously I use that term proof loosely, but no, it was, they associated it with a lantern. It was a big light, like a ball of light, similar to like what you would see in an old oil lantern, you know. So that's what they associated it as. So yeah, I want to do a little mini documentary on the Barden Booger. So I'm working on kind of putting that together. And what's up, Sam? What's up? So yeah, so I'm going to be working on that. Yeah, hit that like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. I'm working on it. I'm at 267 or 268, somewhere around there. So I'm trying to get to 1,000. I was gonna set a goal of 500, but I'm shooting for 1,000. So yeah. But yeah, working on something to put together for a little documentary on the Barden Booger. I think that'd be cool. I want to do more of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah. So I'm gonna try to keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions whatsoever, anything you want to know, my opinions on anything related to Bigfoot, cryptids in general, ask away. I'll do the best I can to answer as much as I can. And like I said, I'm not gonna try to give some kind of bullshit answer if I don't know. You know what I mean? So I'll just tell you I don't know, and I'll tell you right now, there's a lot I don't know. But while we kind of wait for that, I have an encounter here that I want to read for you guys. So any new interviews for us to look out for? So I've got a few scheduled. I've got a few podcasts that I'm going to be going on, other people's podcasts here in the near future. I've got one that we're recording tonight with Ashes. I'll be recording with him tonight on his show, and then that'll be coming out, whenever. I don't know what his turnaround is on that. So I'll be recording that tonight with Ashes. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be going on the paranormal. I'm going to be going on podcast with what is it? The Paranormal Vortex with Paranormal Dwarf Kyle. That's going to be in November. That's going to be a live. So looking forward to that. I'm going to be on Beyond the Woodline here in a couple of weeks in September. And then I've got a few interviews that I've got lined up that just working on some schedule things. Got another local researcher here in my area that I talk to on a regular basis. We're setting up some stuff. He researches the same areas I research. And then got a few others coming up in the near future that I'm still working on the details. So I don't want to put any names out there just yet, because I want to make sure we get it secure, but some pretty cool interviews. So look for that. Look for that coming up soon. I'm looking forward to a couple of them. Looking forward to all of them, but yeah. So, yeah, a lot of great stuff, coming up in the future, and hopefully everything works out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But so I got a report here, and these are all going to be Florida. This report happened March 18th, 2020. 9:45 p.m. It was a Wednesday evening. It was the end of winter, beginning of spring, and this was down in Sarasota County. It was near I-75, Sarasota County. So there were some investigators. They were investigating this area. They were out there 3 nights in a row. First 2 nights were relatively quiet, no signs of wildlife, only a couple owls chattering back and forth. And then on Wednesday evening, they arrived just before dark. They were checking their trail cameras, and then they set up for their nighttime investigation with their night vision, their thermal imaging, all that good stuff. And as it got dark that night, as the sun set, darkness set in, they realized that this was the darkest night of all 3. Crescent moon, cloud cover. They really were not able to really see their hands in front of their face at all. So at 9:45 p.m., one of the guys immediately said, he just said, "Hey, did you see that?" And the other guy said, "Yeah, I saw that, but where did it come from?" And the way they describe it is, they said it kind of just appeared out of thin air. They don't know where it came from, but they saw something. And what they saw was a 4-foot tall child, basically. That's how they described it. They saw, and that's what actually they said. They said, "Where'd that 4-foot tall child come from?" It wasn't from the hiking trail. They were focused on the hiking trail. It just kind of appeared out of nowhere. All right. So during our conversation, we were wondering who would let their child out alone without even a flashlight. Before we could sort out our thoughts, this child ran very quickly to the nearby swing and started to swing. More confusion ensued as we realized it took only 1 or 2 pushes to put the swing into maximum trajectory. While we were mesmerized by this, a second child suddenly appeared on the scene. Fortunately, I caught a glimpse of him coming down the slide, which of course is how they managed to enter the scene so quickly. This little guy seemed to be about 5 feet tall. He stood between the slide and the swings, and both investigators heard chatter as they were chattering back and forth. We had no way to understand what they were saying. It was clearly not intelligible to us. With the swing moving quickly forward, the little one jumped off and landed near the other, and they both ran off into the bush, with most of their exit being obscured by the tall slide. Right after, when we discussed what had occurred, we quickly realized that the odd-looking black jumpsuit that these children were wearing was actually their long body hair. A very quick sighting, total confusion, almost a disappearing exit left us standing there while it was slowly sunk in that we had just had a very unusual Bigfoot sighting. Nowhere have the three of us ever read an account of 2 Bigfoot children playing in a park. It was a sobering reminder for us to learn how much their children are exactly like ours. We are not so far apart. So that was an interesting one, because I've read this before, and I've talked to another investigator who had talked to these investigators, knows them and everything like that. And these 2 juvenile Sasquatch were playing on the slide and the swing set at this park. I've heard another report of that happening too recently. It was a report given to David Bacara up at the Expedition Bigfoot Museum up in Georgia. But yeah, so that's cool. I mean, to sit there and watch a couple of Sasquatch playing on the swing set, that's wild. I mean, that's wild. I wouldn't know what to think about that, but that reminds me of a incident that I witnessed. And I don't think that I've talked about this. I've told a couple of people this privately, but I don't think I've talked about this publicly on my channel yet. But it was back in 2008 or 2000, excuse me. Back in 2008 or 2009, we were living in this double-wide mobile home in a neighborhood in Polk County, on the other side of town, same area where I grew up in, actually same house that I grew up in. We were living out there, and late one night, our dog started going crazy, ran to the back door, barking like crazy. She's a pit bull. She was mean, man. I can't even recall how many times we had to pull her off of other animals. We got kicked out of a state park. Well, we didn't get kicked out of a state park. They told us we had to take her. We either had to leave or take her home because she had attacked another dog. She was always running away, taking off. And so she wasn't afraid of anything. She would go after anything, squirrels, raccoons. I mean, she didn't care, right? She was just mean. But nice to people though. Well, most people. So she's going crazy at the back door this one night. It was probably around 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I peeked out the window of the kitchen window. I kind of looked out the window to see if I could see anything out there. I'm thinking maybe like a raccoon or something she had heard or whatever. I couldn't see anything. So I went to open the door. And when I opened the door, she jumped. If you know, a double wide mobile home, we just had those the typical wooden steps that go down out the back. She jumped straight down, didn't even go down the stairs. She jumped straight down. And then she took off to the right, to the corner of the house. And about that time, I realized the gate was open. And now I'm kind of like, oh, damn, she's going to take off and I'm not going to find her till like the next day or whatever. Because she would do that a lot, right? And, hey, Gary, how you doing? How you doing? So now the gate was open. I'm sure that gate was closed because we always kept the gate closed for that very reason, because she would take off running. So we always kept the gate closed. Now, it's a possibility I could have forgot to close it. One of the kids could have forgot to close the gate, whatever. But she took off around the side of the house and I took off after her. And just as I round the corner of the house, she's whimpering because she's barking the whole way. She whimpers and she runs back. Tail tucked between her legs, hiding behind me, whimpering. Not like her at all, right? I'd never seen her run from anything, right? So I'm thinking like all this is happening real quick, right? Within just a matter of a couple seconds. And I'm like, that's weird. That's not like her. And I look up and I'm looking down the driveway to the road. And I see a garbage bag that appeared to be floating across the road. Now, it wasn't floating, or at least I don't think it was floating, but that's what it looked like. All I could see was this garbage bag. It was up off the ground, just barely up off the ground, and it was moving across the road at the end of the driveway. Now, the way that I kind of described that is it kind of looked, again, like I said, it was floating, but it was almost like something had it slung over its shoulder and was carrying it. But whatever was carrying it wasn't any bigger than the garbage bag itself, because I couldn't make out a figure, right? All I could see was the garbage bag. So whatever it was, again, seemed to be no bigger than the garbage bag itself. And so I'm just standing there watching it like, what the hell am I looking at right now? And I see this, it just goes across the road. And across from our house, there's another house kind of just catty corner, just to the left on the other side of the road. And then beyond that, there's a ditch that runs from the lake way back this way. There's a ditch that runs, and it runs under the road and then across the other side, and it runs back behind the neighborhood. And it goes back into, like, there was some orange groves back there, some marsh area back there. There's a vacant piece of property back there. A guy used to keep horses back there years ago. But this thing just kind of goes off to the side of the house along that ditch and disappears into the darkness. And at the time, like I said, all I could see was the garbage bag. Now, the garbage bag wasn't being drug across the ground. It wasn't being drug on the ground like if something had it in its mouth. It appeared, hey, what's up, Mike? It appeared to be, like I said, being carried like it was slung over a shoulder. But whatever it was really small. And it was one of those black garbage bags, like not the super big industrial size, but like the next size down. I forget, was like, it wasn't, I don't think it was the 13 gallon. It was like the next one in between or something like that. So not super big, but not one of the small ones either. So I'm watching this thing and it just disappears, like I said, into the darkness across the road. I'm standing there trying to make sense of it. I'm thinking, okay, raccoon, fox. We didn't have bears in the area. A dog, like what could, but nothing made sense, because if any of those animals would have grabbed that garbage bag, they would have been dragging it. And I don't know what it looks like on your end, but there should be a way to share it somewhere. Like on my end, I could see a little arrow to share it. So I'm not sure what it looks like on y'all's end, but yeah. Or there might be the 3 little dots maybe off to the side or something where you could pop up and share it that way. And then of course you could post it to YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or wherever, Instagram. Yeah, nah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. I wish I could be more help to tell you how to do it. But so yeah, so I'm standing there, I'm trying to make sense of it. Like, it wasn't being drug across the road. It was being carried up off the ground by just a couple of inches. I couldn't see a head. I couldn't see feet. Whatever it was totally obscured by this garbage bag. And so I'm trying to make sense of it. Like I said, I'm thinking raccoons, I'm thinking some other kind of animal, but it didn't make sense the way that it was being carried across the road. And so I'm like, I just stand there for a couple seconds. I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't make sense of it. I look back, the dog's standing at the bottom of the stairs, just like curled up in like a fetal position, basically, you know. And I'm just like, this is weird. I don't know what to make of this, but I'm gonna go back inside. I'll check it out tomorrow. I'll walk across there and see, you know, if I see anything. I wasn't thinking anything about anything, right? The thought never crossed my mind that it was a Bigfoot. The thought never crossed, nothing like that, right, at the time. So I go back to the stairs. I walk up the stairs, and our garbage can was sitting right there at the side of the stairs. And so the garbage can was closed. It was one of the big garbage cans, you know, that the county brings out. I opened it up, and it was empty. So the garbage bag that I had placed in there earlier that night was gone. So I'm like, all right, this is weird. You know, raccoons don't carry off garbage bags like that. They just tear up shit right there, you know. So anyway, go inside, go to bed that night. Next morning I get up, I go out there, and I start walking across the street, and I'm looking to see if the garbage bag had gotten torn up, if there was trash anywhere. Nothing. No signs of anything. And so, you know, it's just weird. I can't make sense of what happened. So I'm walking down along the edge of this ditch, and I'm starting to approach where that vacant piece of property is, right? And I could see a guy back there on that property working. The guy, he's working, he's cleaning up the property, mowing and all that kind of stuff. And so as I'm approaching, you know, I kind of holler out to him, let him know I'm coming. And I just start talking to him, you know, and, you know, how's it going? You know, what you got going on today? You know, just normal stuff. And as I'm talking to him, I see a pile of garbage bags, about 5 or 6 garbage bags kind of off to the side. And they're just all kind of in a, not really piled up on top of each other, but they're just all kind of in a cluster. And there's some trash around the garbage bags and things like that. And so after a few minutes, I asked this guy, you know, what's the deal with all the garbage bags? Because obviously it wasn't yard debris, it was like trash. And so I'm like, what's the deal with all the garbage bags here, man? And he just kind of looks at me and he's like, I really don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? He said, well, he said, it's the weirdest thing. He said, I come out here, you know, once in a while, and I clean up the property, I mow, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And he said, every once in a while, I'll get out here and I'll find garbage bags on the property. They've been opened up, not ripped up, but opened up and rifled through. He said, I'll find trash out. He said, there'll be food. He said, but it looks like something's bringing these garbage bags here, opening them up and going through them. And I was like, that's weird. He said, yeah, but that's not even the weirdest part. he said the weirdest part is, he said, as I'm going through these garbage bags, he said, you know, there'll be pieces of mail. Your priorities are all messed up, Sam. All messed up. Just saying. So he said, yeah, I'll find these pieces of mail. He said, and I have found mail from 1.5 to 2 miles away. Neighborhood 1.5 to 2 miles away. Not all the time, but once in a while, I'll find mail from that far away. So I'm like, interesting. So I told him what happened the night before and what I saw. And of course, you know, we're both just sitting there like thinking it's weird. You know, we're thinking like, all right, somebody is going through, taking out trash, a homeless person or whatever. But the part that didn't make any sense, again, was whatever this thing was that carried off my garbage bag that night was 2.5, 3 feet tall, maybe. You know what I mean? It was weird. So I just kind of put it out of my mind for a while. Didn't really think much about it because I couldn't make sense of it. But whatever it was bringing garbage from 1.5 to 2 miles away. So as I think back on it now, I'm thinking, okay, could it have been a juvenile Sasquatch? And then I'm thinking, all right, well, why would the juvenile Sasquatch go off and get the garbage? And I'm like, well, maybe because a juvenile would be able to move around a little bit easier without being spotted, without leaving, you know, a footprint, not like a physical footprint, but you know what I mean, like without being detected, maybe, you know. Maybe there was an adult off in the darkness, just kind of watching, keeping watch, while they sent this juvenile out to you know, go through people's trash. I don't know. I've looked into trying to find reports of little people in the area, you know, but how do you search for something like that? I mean, you know, I went on Reddit and, you know, Google and looked at, you know, just trying to find reports of little people, came up with nothing. But there have been Sasquatch reports in the area over the years and in close proximity to not necessarily that same neighborhood, but close proximity to that neighborhood. So, you know, was it a juvenile Sasquatch that was going around taking my trash out that night and taking it to this property and going through it and getting food? I don't know. I have no idea. But that was the very first encounter that I've ever had. And I just thought about it, or I just didn't think about it for the longest time. Yeah, when I close my eyes and think about it, what does my heart tell me? In my mind, the only thing that makes sense is a Sasquatch, because, you know, could it have been some homeless people? I mean, yeah, it could have been, but there were never any Oh, yeah, yes. I agree with that. But there were never any reports or any indication of homeless people in that area, you know, because that would have been talked about. Sasquatch, probably not talked about, because we know that a lot of times people just don't talk about that stuff when they see them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, my gut inside, it tells me, I'm like that. I think that's what it was. But it, you know, I don't know. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something that I haven't told a whole lot of people because it was weird. You know what I mean? But whatever it was, it wasn't very tall. It was very, very short. Like I said, I could not make out a profile of this thing whatsoever. All I could see was a garbage bag. So that was interesting. But yeah, so that was my first encounter with something weird. With something weird. So yeah, that was, I don't know what to make of it, but so yeah. Anybody got any questions you want to know? Any questions for me about anything Sasquatch related? And it could be anything really. You know, but so I have a question for y'all. I put out a video last week on Sunday, 15-minute video of me out in the field checking out a couple of things. I had that tree manipulation. I like to call them tree manipulations. I don't know if that's, I like to call it that because you know, that kind of covers the structures, that kind of covers the breaks and the arches and everything. It kind of covers all of it, just a tree manipulation. But I put that out there on the video where it was an interesting find, right? I can't say that it was conclusive in my mind that it was definitely, you know, an intentional thing that was done by Sasquatch or anything else. It could have very easily been weather. I did find it interesting that the three trees that were all kind of pushed over were right there next to each other, kind of clustered up, and they were all kind of pushed over at the base, and they were all pretty much at the same angle. And then that one was arched over, and nothing else in that immediate area was touched, right? So yeah, it was interesting. That's an interesting, Albert Osman, that's an interesting encounter. You know what? I don't know what to think about it. Obviously, if it were a modern day encounter where we could hear him tell his story and everything like that, it'd be a little bit easier to kind of get a read on it. I love the story though, right? This guy, he's a prospector. He's out there and he's in his sleeping bag, and the way he tells it is a family of Bigfoot came along and scooped him up in his sleeping bag one night and carried him off, and they took him back to their I think it was a cave, right? I believe it was a cave that they took him back in and held him in. But he was there for a few days with him. I'm trying to recall the details of it, but the way the story goes, to the best of my recollection, is he gave the Sasquatch his chewing tobacco, and if I remember correctly, it made the Sasquatch sick. And he took that opportunity to escape. Very interesting encounter. I kind of joke sometimes that I would love to have an encounter like that. But then again, I don't know if I would really love to have an encounter like that. That would be kind of terrifying. To have something pick you up in your sleeping bag and carry you off. That would be terrifying. Well, I shouldn't say the closest thing that I've heard, but something similar to that. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yes, nest. Something similar to that. There were some researchers. Yeah, exactly. He really didn't. I mean, I don't think he was lying about it. It's interesting. And again, like you said, why would he lie about it? Yeah, he just gulped it down, man. I remember the very first time I dipped, I took a big old wad and just stuffed it in there, and it was too much, and I ended up swallowing some of it. Boy, let me tell you what, man, that was rough. That was rough, man. I got so sick because like I said, I took a big old wad and stuck it in there, and I swallowed probably about half of it. And man, that was rough. So yeah, but that's the thing. Like he wasn't really seeking notoriety or fame or fortune or anything like that from it. He didn't get rich from it, and so it's like, why? What was the what would be the purpose of lying about something like that? You know what I mean? And that's like with a lot of these encounters, a lot of these people, most of them, they don't gain anything from it. They've got nothing to gain from it. And so, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's just like, yeah, sure, there are some people that they just want their 15 minutes of fame. But you've got, I talked to a guy. Yeah, Mickey. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ridicule. Ridicule. That's it. And I talked to a guy recently. He said that same thing. He said, people talk about, oh, you just want your 15 minutes of fame. He said, yeah, but 13 minutes of that is ridicule. So, go figure. But I talked to another research partner of mine up in Alaska, and he actually took a report from somebody in North Carolina who had an encounter. This person that had an encounter, they didn't want to come on the podcast. They didn't want to tell their story publicly. They told it to him, and they did allow him to relay that message, to relay that encounter, but they didn't want to come on the podcast. They didn't want to they really hadn't talked to anybody about it, but it had been kind of eating away at them, and they wanted to tell somebody. But that's a good idea to try to look for that. That would be interesting to look for, to try to find that interview. But yeah, this person in North Carolina, she didn't want any notoriety from it. She didn't want her name to be out there. She didn't want anything. So, it's interesting. Brandon. So I kind of take that approach to a certain extent, right? I will look for footprints. I don't carry casting material with me. I will look for footprints to kind of try to see if I can find where they're moving, where they're, direction that they're moving, things like that. Haven't really found anything that I could say definitively, would be Sasquatch prints. I do record audio because, and it has proven to be fruitful. Yeah, as far as I'm more trying to go for the encounters, right? And hopefully when I do that, I can capture some audio as well, or some evidence as well, whether it's audio or video. Um, you know, if I got a really good image, I don't know what I would do with it. I don't know that I would just make it public, honestly. Just me personally, it just depends on the circumstances and everything surrounding it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I kind of take that same approach. Yeah, I've heard Sam Houston National Forest is a really good area, and I've not seen one either. I've not seen one either. Um, I'm very confident that they've been close to me based on things that I've heard, audio that I've captured, um, but I've not seen one yet. But I'm hoping I get to have that encounter. Um, so it's funny that you mention snake, um, Adam, because, hey, Bobby, Lake County, all right. Awesome. Yeah, I'm in Polk County, so we're neighbors. Um, yeah, so snake. Um, here's here's my opinion on that whole thing with Dak, the Bigfoot that he carries around supposedly, right? Um, I don't believe it's a real Bigfoot, right? I don't believe it's real. Um, I'm in Florida, Brandon, Central Florida. So yeah, I don't believe Dak is real. I'll say that. Um, one of the reasons I don't believe it was real because if he had a real body, I believe that the government would have swooped in and scooped it up, right? I do believe that. So I don't believe it's real. Um, however, yeah, we do. Um, however, I'm really not mad at the guy, honestly. I mean, me personally, right? I'm really not mad at the guy. I wonder if the whole thing is just a character. Like, I wonder if the whole thing is just for fun, right? Now, he goes all over the news and all that kind of stuff, and he says he has the DNA studies and all of that, right? I just wonder if it's all just fun and games for him. I don't know. He's taking it around. It's almost like a sideshow at the carnival type thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not really mad at him, uh, but at the same time, uh, it makes the community, um, yeah, kind of like that guy, right? I think that's all satire. Um, but yeah, I mean it. Man, when you look at these videos that he posts of these people coming, these families coming and looking at this thing in the glass case and everything like that, these families, man, they're loving it. They're eating it up. Do the people that are coming to see it think that it's real? I don't know. Some of them probably do. Some of them probably it's just like, going to see the bearded lady at the carnival or something like that, or the 8 foot tall, man or whatever, whatever the sideshows are, so I don't know. But yeah, definitely don't think it's real. Definitely think if it was, the government would have swooped in and took it. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, let's see here. Gary, Ashland, Cleveland counties. I'm not super familiar with the counties. Is that Western North Carolina? No, I was up in North Carolina last weekend. Eastern North Carolina. I was over in Jacksonville at Camp Lejeune. And there's reports over in that way. Hey, Rhonda. Man, I want to move to North Carolina so bad. Yeah, I mean, supposedly some people looked at it and they said it was made out of carpet. It appeared to be made out of carpet, which that kind of makes sense because it does kind of look like shag carpet. You know, looks like something you'd find in a shaggin' wagon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I love North Carolina. Love North Carolina. Okay, so the noises that the chat was hearing. So a couple weeks ago on the 7th. Okay, cool. Oh, wow, Bobby, nice. On the 7th, I was out in the Green Swamp, and we were live out there for almost 6 hours that night. There was a lot of weird stuff going on. We heard a lot of knocks and vocalizations way off in the distance, just very faint, right? We heard your typical knocks off in the distance. We heard some like whoops, and some other stuff, right? But the people that were watching the live in the chat, they were hearing some sort of oh man, I love Brevard, bro. Yeah, I love Brevard, that whole area. Yeah, absolutely. I spent a lot of time up in that area when I was a kid. We'd go up there every summer. Yeah, so the people in the chat were hearing some sort of like ticking sound or a clicking sound. Some people described it as mechanical or electrical. Some people described it as like metal clinking together, kind of like, when you have a flagpole and you've got the clips on the flagpole and the wind blows it and it just ting, 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 when the wind's blowing it. Some people described it like that. And it was sort of intermittent. It would ramp up at times. It would get louder. There was a rhythm to it. The frequency seemed to change. But we could not hear it with our ears, right? So I was thinking it was something, maybe the phone was tapping on the tripod or something like that. I went back on the playback and I cannot hear it. Oh, interesting. Huh, interesting. Felt like a rug. Huh. Yeah, so that noise, I could not hear it on the playback. I went back and listened to it several times. I put my earbuds in. I couldn't hear it. So I don't know. I really have no idea what was going on there. I still wonder if it wasn't an insect, but everybody said they were certain it wasn't any kind of insect. Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody kind of had a different way of explaining it, and some people could hear it louder than others. So it was weird, but I couldn't hear it on the playback. So I don't know what to make of that. But there was a lot of weird stuff going on that night. You know, we found that tree structure. Oh, interesting. Bro, why didn't you tell me that, man? So, okay, so that's interesting. Man, that's weird. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I just listened to sections where it seemed to be the loudest and everybody was talking about it the most. But yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of weird stuff going on that night. And, you know, we were in that area. We found that tree manipulation. We were trying to look at it in the dark the best we could. Couldn't really see a whole lot. But as we got ready to leave that area, when I was listening to the playback, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm gonna have to go back and I got to go back and listen to it again. Yeah, so I'm listening to the playback, and as we're getting ready to leave that area where we were at for, I don't know, quite a while, probably 20, 30 minutes, maybe even longer than that. I'm listening to the playback, and you hear this vocalization. And I posted a video last week, the 15-minute video where I played that vocalization. And then I posted a little short yesterday here on my channel. I posted on TikTok, I posted on Facebook, I posted on Instagram. And that one, we did not hear it when it happened because we didn't respond to it. But it sounded like some sort of language, or it almost sounded like something was trying to mimic an owl, but it wasn't. It was off. The way that I explained it, it almost sounded like a Marine. It was like, wah, wah. It was weird. But whatever it was close. It sounded like it was right on top of us. And we did not hear it, because I asked my buddy, I said, dude, did you hear this? He says, what is that? Nah, we didn't hear it when it happened. So, you know, I posted that up there, and I sent it to a guy who put it through his software to try to see if it would, you know, match it to anything else. And there's not a whole lot there. It's a very short, you know, clip when it does it, but it didn't match to anything. It didn't match to the owls. It didn't match to anything else. So it's anomalous. And you know, I hear other people explaining it the same way. But that was wild. And whatever it was close. And so, you know, it was crazy. But that night was a weird night. It was definitely a weird night. I got another little piece of video, audio from that night that I'm going to be putting out soon. So yeah. Jason, it starts on October 1st, brother, not the 3rd, October 1st. What are you talking about, man? October 3rd. It's the 1st through the 4th, man. Come on, dude. But yeah, I got another clip that I'm going to be putting out later on this week, or well, week's almost over. Maybe tomorrow. I got one I'll be putting out today, and then another one tomorrow that has another piece of audio that we captured that night. That is weird as well. A lot of weird stuff out there in that area. That is for sure. What's interesting though is that same area. There was some other researchers out there about a month ago, or there was one guy out there. He was solo, and this was during the daytime. He heard something. He heard something off in the cypress hammock that was like gibberish. It was like talking. It was like talking gibberish. And same area that I'm in. So yeah, it's wild out there. And like I said, I'm out there, you know, just waiting for that encounter. You know, so you know, the Papa Squatch guys found a trackway west of my area just a couple of weeks ago, which makes perfect sense. So it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's see, we got another encounter. See which one I want to go with here. Coming to Westminster, South Carolina, October 9th. Dude, I wanted to, but I'm not going to be able to. Going to Kentucky that first weekend of October. So, not going to be able to make it to Westminster. I got a buddy of mine in Rock Hill. He was asking me about it. He was like, "You gonna come up?" And but no, I'm not gonna be able to. So, it would be cool. Hell, man, I didn't even make it to the Bigfoot conference here in Ocala, and it's only like an hour and a half from my house. So, yeah. So there are a lot. Rhonda, here's the thing about Central Florida. There are a lot of researchers in Central Florida. A lot. And, you know, so it's saturated. Hey, Mike, thanks for stopping in, brother. Hit me up, man. Hit me up. Oh, and by the way, Mike, before you leave, I love that interview you put out. Y'all go check out Mike Honcho on YouTube. Haints, wait, what is it? Haints and Hunts. Just put out an episode with some incredible dogman evidence. So y'all check that out. Yeah, so there's a lot of researchers down here in Central Florida. Oh, oversaturated. I mean, which is not a bad thing necessarily, right? Because if we're all out there trying to find the same thing, you know, we can hopefully share evidence with each other, right? Unfortunately, not everybody wants to play nice. So, but I have some people that I talk to down here on a regular basis that we're always sharing information back and forth. A couple of people, like I said, research the exact same areas that I'm researching. And so, we can compare notes. And that's a good thing about it. When everybody plays nice and we can compare notes, it really helps out the research. So I'm grateful for that. Because especially like if we're all experiencing the same things, that's verification. So if we're all experiencing the same things in the same areas, it's not just, your eyes playing tricks on you, your ears playing tricks on you, or whatever the case may be. You got, I'm hearing chatter, and then somebody else is hearing chatter. So yeah, that's cool, Bobby. That's cool. Yeah, that Ohio howl, man. That's some awesome audio too, man. I love that. But yeah, I'm still trying to make sense of those screams I got recorded that night. I'm gonna be sending those off to have them analyzed as well. Crazy screams one night I got on audio. So, and I've put that out there. It's on my YouTube shorts and it's on TikTok. But I'm gonna get that analyzed as well, see if we can rule anything out. How close is that to, Bobby, how close is that to, oh man, where all the activity happened back in March? I forget the county. How close is that to there? Y'all North Carolina folks. The Ozark Howler. So I haven't looked much into the Ozark Howler. I am familiar with it, but I haven't really dove into that too much. So I don't really have an opinion on that. So sorry. I mean, people are reporting it, right? So, I think it's legitimate, at least most of those reports, I believe. All right. So I got another one. This is in the Green Swamp. And this was 2012, January of 2012. All right. So this guy had reported that he had been hunting the Green Swamp since 1970. He estimated that he had spent approximately 1,000 days. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so this guy estimated he spent 1,000 days in the Green Swamp hunting over 35 years. He was familiar with the vegetation, the terrain, wildlife, hunting conditions, and had routinely walked the area at night alone. Yeah, the horns. Yeah, that's the thing, man. The horns. That's wild. So in 2012, January, he was hunting a relatively new tract consisting largely of young planted pines. The trees were arranged in remarkably straight rows, approximately 15 feet apart, creating long corridors through which visibility could extend hundreds of yards. One afternoon, sometime between 3 and 4 p.m., or 2 and 3 p.m., the hunter was lying prone with his rifle watching down one of those corridors. Then something moved to his left. Man, I love that area too, Bobby. I love that area. So something moved to his left. He looked up. 3 large figures were walking past him. They were approximately 10 yards away. The first thing that crossed his mind, 3 hunters wearing black ghillie suits. He didn't panic, he didn't shoot, he didn't photograph them. At the moment, he believed they were simply 3 idiots hunting in strange camouflage. The figures walked in single file and disappeared toward a cypress swamp approximately 50 to 60 yards away. Then came the weird part. From the swamp came approximately 20 loud banging sounds. The witness described them as having a dull, almost metallic donk quality, like hollow aluminum striking a tree. He assumed that the men that he thought were men were dismantling their hunting equipment, so he just continued hunting. But afterwards, the incident bothered him. There were problems with the three hunters' explanation in his mind. The witness remembered that all three appeared approximately the same size, roughly 6'4" to 6'6", and around 250 pounds. They wore black, form-fitting, hair-like material. That's what he thought was a ghillie suit. The hunters carried no rifle, no backpacks, no visible hunting equipment, no hunter orange, and they had walked away directly across the line of fire of a hunter holding a loaded rifle. He questioned why anyone would wear black ghillie suit in a green Florida hunting environment. Years later, he was watching a Bigfoot television program when he heard about tree knocking. Suddenly, the strange banging from the swamp came back to him. He wondered whether those weren't hunters dismantling equipment at all. Maybe they were tree knocks. So what's interesting about this is this hunter didn't think Bigfoot when he saw this. He thought that they were other hunters in ghillie suits, right? But the more he thought about it, it didn't make sense because they seemed to be form-fitting. It seemed to look more like hair than your typical, ghillie suit. It just didn't look right. It wasn't until years later when he saw a Bigfoot show and they were talking about tree knocks that he associated those loud bangs that he had heard with what they were talking about on the show as tree knocks. So, let's see here. So that's an interesting one because, again, this is somebody who is not into Bigfoot, and they just chalked it up to three hunters, but it just didn't make sense. So that's another one. Again, the Green Swamp has lots of encounters, lots of sightings out there. You could go to the BFRO, you can go to the Bigfoot Mapping Project, you can see all the ones from the Green Swamp. However, independent researchers take reports from the Green Swamp on a yearly basis, multiple reports every year coming out of the Green Swamp to these independent researchers that never make it to the BFRO, that never make it to the Bigfoot Mapping Project, that never make it to the big databases. And a lot of them are very, very compelling. Road crossings. On the main road that runs north and south through the Green Swamp, there are road crossings there. There's multiple road crossings that have been reported. I've had people reach out to me saying that they saw a road crossing. And they all are pretty much in the same area where the creek crosses underneath the road. Oh yeah, Olivia. Yeah, that's right. Olivia is up in that area. Somebody asked me about the lizard man. I don't know. Man, when we start talking about these cryptids like the lizard man and the frog man and the goat man and all that kind of stuff, you know what? If I had to be honest with you, I don't really get into those as much. That being said, I don't discount them. I believe that there are so many weird things out there that we just don't know about. Could there be some sort of mutation going on? Could there be? I just don't know. And so I don't discount them. You know what I mean? Dogman, for instance. You know, some of the Dogman reports sound like they could be Sasquatch. All right, Jason, take care, brother. Don't work too hard. Well, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say because you don't work hard anyway. So, but some of the Dogman reports sound like they could be seeing Sasquatch, maybe a little different, variation of a Sasquatch. But then others don't seem like they could be mistaken for Sasquatch at all, based on the footprints and the way that they describe the feet and the legs, kind of being more dog-like, the ears and things like that. Could it be a Gugway? You know, I don't know. But yeah, all of those weird cryptids like that. Honestly, I don't discount them. You know what I mean? I think that there are all kind of things out there that we just don't know about. And, you know, I don't want to get all, you know, religious or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, if you do read the Bible and you take, you know, whatever, it talks about, you know, beasts of the earth. So could it be along those lines? You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe. But Florida has one, it's like a gator man, that's supposedly seen. I don't know, man. It's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff out there that we just don't know about. And so could there be a lizard man out there? I mean, and here's the thing. Could the lizard man just be reptilians? You know what I mean? I think that's a very good possibility. So, you know, it's just my opinion. So here's a question that I have. Let me see if I could find it here. I'm trying to mop. My goodness, what are you mopping for? Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. I mean, you're absolutely right. If you trace back, there are reports of all kind of things going way, way back, thousands and thousands of years. Let me see if I could find this one. Oh my goodness. I had trying to find a picture of it. Hey Zuli, what's up? What's up? I'm trying to find a picture of it, but did anybody see? So there was a picture going around. A guy was in a campground. He went to the outhouse at the campground, or the bathroom. I'm assuming it was like an outhouse or something like that, or just he's in the bathroom, and apparently he hears something walking towards him as he's in the bathroom, and he looks up, and the picture is a face looking down at him. Oh, nice. UPS, huh? Do you work in the warehouse, or you, oh, well, yeah, you work at night, so you must work in the warehouse then, yeah. Yeah, and so he sees this face looking down at him, a Bigfoot face, right? And no, it wasn't the crawler. But I was trying to find the picture, and I can't find it right now. But it was a very clear picture, and so, of course, I took that image and I put it in Chat GPT and said, analyze this, tell me if it's, if there's any indication that it's AI or computer generated or anything like that. And of course, Chat GPT came back and said, yeah, exactly, because you know what I mean? He's already sitting there. So, if he's going to shit himself for, scared the shit out of him, he was in the right place for sure. But, when ChatGPT said, most likely, I forget the percentage it gave, but it was like high percentage, it was AI. Now, I'll be honest with you, putting stuff like that into ChatGPT when it's involving like cryptids and things that, supposedly don't exist, ChatGPT is going to be biased anyway, right? But ChatGPT said, high percentage that it was AI generated. Here was my thing though. All right, if I'm in a remote campground in the middle of the night and I go into the outhouse and I'm sitting there doing my thing and I look up and I see this thing staring over at me, the last thing on my mind is gonna be grab my phone and take a picture of it. That is gonna be the last thing on my mind. So the fact that this guy grabbed his phone, took a picture that is extremely clear, very good quality, right? I don't buy it. Personally, I don't buy it. That's my opinion. That's the last thing on my mind. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what you hear from these, everybody's like, well, why didn't you take a picture of it? Well, because I'm seeing something that I shouldn't be seeing. I'm seeing something that's not supposed to be out there. I wasn't thinking about grabbing my phone and taking a picture of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that'd be the last thing on my mind. Yeah, I'd be running too, man. I'd be tripping over my pants because I wouldn't take, well, I don't know. The thing was standing outside, so, I don't know if, you know, I don't know if I'd be running outside, but yeah, I wouldn't be thinking to take a picture of that thing. That's for dang sure. But, man, I hope. I just got a notification saying that there's an outage, an internet outage in the area. So, hopefully my my cell service will still keep up with us. But all right, so any other questions? Anything anybody wants to know? Anything else? Let's see. And if I missed something, I apologize. If you did ask a question, I missed it, I apologize. So you could just pop it back in there. Any other experiences may be paranormal? I mean, that voice that I recorded that night, I'm out there doing Bigfoot stuff and I get a voice come through that sounded electrical, sounded, like something coming through it almost sounded like a two-way radio or like a CB radio or something like that. It was very weird. I'm out there, in the swamp. and I recorded that voice. I don't know what that was. I would consider that, I definitely consider that paranormal. I have no idea what it was. You know, I've got something else that I'm dropping in a couple of days, just another short little video that I would consider paranormal as well. So, you can look forward to that in a couple days. Mm, um, there's one thing that I really don't know how I would classify it. So when I was 12 years old, my grandpa died, and he had complications, brain tumor, for a while, and he died. And so the night after his funeral, I'm at home. I go to bed that night, and I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't a dream, but I don't even know how to explain it. There was like this pulsating, reverberating, vibrating, it was like a sound, but I could feel it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I was 12 years old. That was like 40 or 30, 32 years ago, something like that. But yeah, thank you, Zuli. Yeah, we were real close. But yeah, that night, it was like a sound, but it was in my head, and I could feel it, like a vibrating, pulsating, reverberating, like it was, I don't know how to explain it. And I don't know what it was, but it was like I could hear it in my head and I could feel it in my body. And it lasted what seemed like forever. And that's it. And then a few years later, there was another family friend who also had some health complications for a long time. She had passed away. And the night of her funeral, same thing. I'm laying in bed and I get that same sound or whatever in my head, and that reverberating, that vibrating that I could feel in my whole body. I don't know what that was. Like I said, I wasn't dreaming. I don't remember any dream that I had that night about anything. It was just the weirdest, whatever that was, sound or whatever. So I don't know what to make of it. What do you mean? What do you mean, Zuli, by warnings? Is it like, it's not something I've really ever talked about. But yeah, what do you mean by warnings? And then Bounty Hunting Bear, I will get to your question in just a second. Okay. Yeah, because it happened after they had passed. It happened on the night of their funeral. So it was after they had passed. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Interesting. My grandmother on the other side, on my grandfather, that was my mom's side of the family. My grandmother on the other side of the family, there was this weird thing. She would dream about fish. And every time she would dream about fish, somebody in the family would announce soon after that they were pregnant. No idea, but yeah, that was weird. Yeah, curious, Donna. That's something that's a possibility as well. You know, you hear of that all the time. But it was just weird because, like I said, it wasn't like a dream. I didn't see anything as far as Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it was just it was a weird a weird frequency thing. But yeah, yeah. So Bounty Hunting Bear says, what type of encounter would you want and with what type of cryptid? So I definitely want an encounter with Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I try to say Sasquatch, but you know, I definitely want an encounter with Sasquatch. And this is gonna sound like a joke, but it's really not. I would like to have an encounter with a Sasquatch where I'm camping, sitting around the fire, and a Sasquatch walks out and just walks out, and I see it face to face from across the campfire, or you know, in the campsite right there with me. I kind of said one time that you hear about the peanut butter thing, right? The Sasquatch likes peanut butter. Everybody puts peanut butter out. I love peanut butter. I love peanut butter, and one of my favorite things I like to do when I'm camping. I don't do it all the time because it's not really healthy, but you know what I mean. One of the things I really love is a good old peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich. Right? You get that peanut butter, you put it on one side of the bread, you get that marshmallow fluff, you put it on the other side of the bread, put that sucker together, wrap it up in aluminum foil, and set it down on the fire, let it get nice and toasty and just, nice and gooey and everything like that. I love it, right? And I've said this before, kind of as a joke, but if Sasquatch likes peanut butter, I would love for a Sasquatch to come into my campsite, sit down next to me, and share a peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich with me. That would be really cool. I don't know that would happen, but I mean, yeah, I want to have an encounter with a Sasquatch where I'm just sitting around a campfire and it just walks up and just looks at me, whatever. Now, people say, be careful what you wish for. Oh man, that's absolutely delicious, man. Delicious stuff. So that's kind of the encounter that I'm hoping to have, right? But I also want to have a dogman encounter. I really, really do. I'm not naive. Oh, wow, Gary, interesting. I'm not naive to think that the Sasquatch or the Dogman will not hurt you, right? Most of the encounters, most of the encounters are, yeah. Most of the encounters that you hear, sometimes they're aggressive, sometimes they're, intimidating. But as far as like violent encounters, you hear of them, but most of them are mostly benign, right? But I'm not naive to think that they can't hurt you. Obviously, they're much bigger than us, and they could absolutely hurt us if they wanted to. But yeah, Dogman, I want to have a Dogman encounter. I really do. And I'm out there in the woods, and I might be looking for Sasquatch, but there's other stuff out there too. So Yeah, a dogman encounter. If I had one looking, kind of the same thing, walking into the campsite at night. I don't want it to be violent, of course, and it's probably gonna scare me. But I go back and forth on the dogman. I really do. Not that they don't exist, but what they are exactly. And a lot of people talk about like a government asset type thing. If that's the case, I feel like there's probably some sort of restraint. There's probably rules of engagement. If they are a government asset, I think that there's probably rules of engagement that they're not gonna attack unless they have orders to do so. But that's just one aspect of it. If they are some sort of government engineered thing, right? But yeah. Yeah, I tend to think that as well. Donna, you hear lots of accounts where they kind of follow you out of the woods, not really becoming aggressive, but just following you out of the woods. So yeah. Um, yeah, so Bobby, I was up in North Carolina, like I said last week. My daughter used to live up there at Camp Lejeune. She no longer lives up there. We moved her back down to Florida. Um, so just leave it at that. But and when we go up there, we take 95 up to um, 76, and then take 210. And 210 goes through Morse Creek Battlefield, crosses over the Black River. That's where that 911 call came in back in 2021, and that guy that saw that, what he first described as what looked like a man on the side of the road bleeding, and he calls 911 to report it, and then this thing jumps in the back of his truck. He starts screaming, "That's not human! That's not human!" And basically, what he described is what we would call a rake. And then there's also been dogman encounters in that same area as well. And I would drive right through there all the time, going up to see my daughter. So I actually wanted to get out there in that area last weekend when I was up there, but just wasn't able to make it happen. I wanted to go out there and just spend some time out there. But yeah, it's a creepy stretch of road, out there. So. Subspecies Zuli. Yeah, so I think that, and I don't know if I would say subspecies. I think that there are different kinds. I think that, well, and then of course you've got like the Gugway but I think that there are different kinds, and that's seen in the various descriptions that are given. Some some descriptions seem to be more ape-like. Some descriptions seem to be more human-like, very human-like. Some descriptions, obviously, there are these towering broad-shouldered, massive things. Others, they're more lanky and thin and lean. And then, of course, you've got the whole, supernatural paranormal side of it as well. So, yeah, I think that there are definitely different kinds. There could be some, let's see what you said there. There could be some, where was it? Whoops. Yeah, mating with other animals possibly. I don't know. I don't know. If we're dealing with a type of people, right? If we're dealing with a relic hominid of some sort, I would think probably not. Now if we're dealing with a primate, maybe. I don't think we're dealing with a primate, but yeah, if we're dealing with a relic hominid of some sort, I would think there's probably no breeding with other animals. But yeah, I don't really, I don't know. There are definitely various kinds, I believe, of both dogman and, because like I was saying earlier, I was talking about dogman earlier. Some reports of the dogman seems like it could very well be a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? But then there are other reports. Bro, when I talk to you in private, those things are supposed to stay private. All right? You're not supposed to be telling people all that kind of stuff, man. All right? And it only happened 8 times, okay? It only happened 8 times. It's not like it happens all the time. So yeah, some of the dogman reports, some of them seem like they could have just been Sasquatch, maybe just a different variation of Sasquatch. But then others, again, seem to have those digitigrade legs and look very much canine. So, yeah, the Gugway definitely has more of a snout to it, and that's why I think sometimes maybe the dogman could be, could just very well be maybe a Gugway or a different type of, and the 3 toes as well, yeah. Maybe just a different type of Sasquatch. But I do believe the dogman is a real entity or being. But beyond that, I don't know what it is. I believe so. I believe the dogman is absolutely. I believe this. Okay, that it is an interdimensional being of some sort. Now, I lean that way with the Sasquatch too, right? I lean that way with the Sasquatch too. But yeah, that's a big factor, is you're trying to process everything. You're trying to process everything and you just can't process it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, Norm Sully has that book and the research that he's done, where a Sasquatch supposedly carried off a woman from the village and mated with her, and the woman had a child. And when you look at the pictures, yeah, and there's one in Russia as well. The pictures, he's an odd looking fella. Patrick, he's an odd looking fella, that is for sure. So very, very interesting story there. Robert Cabin in the Woods covers a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of excellent content out there. Absolutely excellent content. Right now, he's in the middle of a series on Florida and the skunk ape. So yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-part series. I think 1 and 2 are already out. I've watched both of those, and then 3 should be coming out soon. On islands. Like, so when you say islands, are you talking about like the Bahamas, Jamaica, Hawaii? I don't know, man. I can't think of any. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I'm aware of on the islands. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Australia has them, you know. So, you know, Australia has the Yowie. They've got dogmen. You know, so yeah, I mean, I would think anything's possible. And especially if we're dealing with something that's interdimensional, they could be anywhere. It'd be, you know, if we're dealing with something that's interdimensional, they would have no problems getting anywhere they wanted to go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, nothing's off the table really for me. Shark God. I have not heard that one. Yeah, so Hawaii, if I do remember correctly, like you said, I don't think that Hawaii has like Bigfoot or Dogman. I've not heard of the Shark God though. Yeah, the little people. Yes, absolutely, the little people. Yeah, and that's the thing, Donna. Man, Curious Cryptids. She researches these cryptids that you've never even heard of, and I got to be honest with you. Some of them are just absolutely terrifying. Yeah, and I mean, think about the chupacabra in Puerto Rico, right? You know, you've got that. They have, yeah, man, exactly, Bobby. I'm telling you, man. You know, I've heard a lot of theories as far as natural ways to explain. Oh, Zuli, I want to hear about that. Natural ways to explain why the footprints stop in the middle of nowhere. And some of those theories make sense in some cases, right? But then there are other cases where it just, I can't buy it, right? I can't buy the natural explanation because you'll have a footprint, you'll have a trackway in, let's just say this open field, and then the prints just stop in the middle of this open field. There's nowhere for it to go. They just stop. Or you'll find one print in the middle of nowhere, one single solitude print in the middle of nowhere. How did it get there, right? So yeah, I mean, here's a theory that I heard. I heard this theory from, I forget where I heard it. I was listening to a podcast, and it wasn't whoever it was, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't their theory. They heard it from, yeah, Donna, exactly. And when the chupacabra started being seen over here in Florida, it had a different description than what they had in Puerto Rico. So yeah, absolutely. But this theory was, let's say we're in a simulation, right? A lot of people talk about we're in a simulation. I don't know, but let's say we're in a simulation, and whoever is running the simulation, think of like Sim City or one of those, sim games that we would play back in the day. Whoever's running the simulation, they just like drop a footprint in the middle of nowhere for you to find, or they drop a Bigfoot in the and you find a Sasquatch or whatever. It's an interesting theory, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into this shark god thing. That is interesting. That is very interesting. How come we haven't seen that on Shark Week? That's what I want to know. How come we haven't seen that on Shark Week? I would love to see something like that talked about. And it flew and it was hairless. It was like a dog size, but it had spike looking on the spine. Yeah, yeah. Hey, what's up, Tyler? Yeah, man, I like that. That's actually, so it's actually a blanket. It's actually a blanket, and it's got the various, scenes. But yeah, the campsite one is definitely my favorite. Where's the night marchers at? Are you still talking about Hawaii, or are you talking about? Yeah. Oh man. Hawaii. Okay. Okay. I've not heard of that one. See, that's the thing. Some of these cryptids. There's so many. There's so many cryptids out there that it's just like I said, some of these cryptids, never heard of them. Never heard of them. So it is interesting. Very, very interesting. And like I said, nothing's off the table for me because, like I said before, I believe there's so many things out there that we just don't know about. And like you said, I mean, they don't want to acknowledge any of this stuff. And I don't know why. It's one of those things where why don't we just acknowledge it? Why don't they just tell us that Sasquatch is out there, right? Why don't they just tell us so that people know? Especially when you got families going out into these remote areas, going camping and hiking and all these things like that, and then they come across one of them, and it'd be nice if they were warned about it, before they go out there, and then they can choose whether they want to go out there or not. So, but yeah, it's very interesting topics to get into, with these cryptids. And, like I said, I mean, I'm out there trying to get that encounter. Um, you know, I've had them, I can't say definitively that that's what it was because I didn't see it, but I've had stuff walking around a campsite at night. I've had stuff thrown at me. We've seen lights. We've heard the vocalizations. And we found possible structures and things like that. So, oh, thank you. Hey, what's up? You have a good day? That's good. That's good. You can come here. gonna say hi?
Hello.
So,
All right, come on.
All right.
but
Sorry.
yeah. All right, I'll be out. I'm almost done.
Let me do it.
All right, love you. Love you.
Do you want me to start with potatoes?
You can, or we can wait a little bit. But yeah, kids are home from school. I forgot where I was at, but anyway, thank you, Zuli. But now she's out there saying, "I'm famous, I'm famous." But yeah, man. Like I said, I'm trying to get the encounters. I'm really at this point, I'm after the encounters more than I am after evidence, but I still record audio and video, and hopefully I can get some evidence when I have the encounter. That's what I'm hoping for. So, Legend of Boggy Creek. Who was that, Bobby? So, Gary. Yeah, so I have an interview on my channel. It was the last interview I posted, so it's like 1 or 2 videos down. It's with William Lunsford. William Lunsford is a researcher out of Texarkana, Arkansas. He has been doing this for 49 years, and very close to Fouke, Arkansas, where the Boggy Creek creature was at. Yeah, but so the movie, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's based on real events. And this researcher, William Lunsford, he has encountered what he says is he believes that he has encountered the Legend of Boggy Creek, the Fouke monster, or its descendants multiple times. Like I said, I got an interview where I interviewed him. Incredible encounters that he's had. You can check it out. He's got lots of pictures that he's put up over the years. Got a couple of books out and stuff like that. But yeah, incredible interview, incredible researcher, William. So you can check that out if you want. But yeah, a lot of people talk about watching that movie as sort of their thank you, Donna, thank you, as sort of their introduction to the Sasquatch topic, and it just scared the mess out of them. It just terrified them. But yeah, so Legend of Boggy Creek is a real creature, I believe. Absolutely. I think Harry and the Hendersons was a real creature. So, oh man. Yeah, that was sort of my introduction. That was when I was, in the 80s, and I can't remember the first time I saw the movie, but in the 80s and the 90s, I can't remember when that movie came out exactly, but that was, the very first, Bigfoot thing that I ever saw. So yeah, oh, there's the kids now jumping in with the fire emoji. Well, I don't know if that was the kids. Might have been the wife. It's her account, but maybe that's why she dropped the fire emoji, because, I'm so hot. But yeah, yeah, Harry and the Hendersons, man, that is a classic. You know what I mean? So, Oh boy. But yeah, guys. So anyway, I'm gonna get ready to jump off here. And so, like I was saying, got some pretty cool interviews coming up where we're gonna dive into some really interesting topics and theories about Sasquatch. I got one interview where we're probably going to deal with, some little people as well, and then I'm going to be on a few other podcasts coming up in the near future with some other people. Like I said, I'll be on with Ashes tonight. It won't be live. It'll be. I think it's pre-recorded. I believe. I don't think it's live. Yeah, it's pre-recorded. So that'll come out later on, but I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be on with Paranormal Dwarf Kyle here in a couple of months. And then Beyond the Woodline is coming up. I'll be on there with them. So, and then got a couple more that I'm working on as well. So, yeah, y'all look for those. I enjoy putting them out, schedule wise, I try to do what I can when I can. But then of course the live stuff that I do out in the field, I'm going to be doing some more of that stuff. I'm going to be doing some more like expedition type videos. I got a few people that I'm lining up with trying to get out there to the location where they had their encounters and do interviews with them on location, and kind of checking out the areas where they had their encounters. I'm trying to get some of those scheduled as well. So that's kind of the thing that I really like doing is the field stuff, going on location. And hey Bobby, thanks for coming in, man. Or I say, you know what? I apologize if it's, I do that sometimes. I say man, or I say bro, or I say dude, or whatever. So, but thank y'all for dropping in. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 mark. So I'm about quarter of the way there. Yeah, I did it with, same thing, Sam. I mean, yeah, bro. Yeah, look for the live stuff. Whenever I'm out in the field, I usually try to go live at some point in time while I'm out there. So look for that stuff. I really like doing the live stuff. We can get everybody kind of involved from home as well. So I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah, guys. And, and, yeah, so, yeah, y'all stay tuned, for, more stuff that'll be dropping in the future. And, once again, everybody, thank you for stopping by, watching, commenting, asking your questions, all that good stuff. I really enjoyed doing it. And, we'll see you guys. Yeah, see, Bobby, I'm sorry because I saw the IE and I was like, you know what? I probably got it wrong, but I apologize for that. And, yeah, guys, Tank, Therapy, Andrew, Sam, Bobby, Gary, Jace, everybody. If I'm missing somebody, everybody, I appreciate it. And, y'all have a great day and a great weekend, and we will see you again next time.